Shortly after the 9/11 attack on the United States began to take into custody thousands of prisoners who they termed to be combatants and not prisoners of war covered under the Geneva Convention. They rapidly designed new interrogation methods which they thought they needed to be effective to interrogate these prisoners. Those methods were approved by our Office of Legal Counsel of the Department of Justice as legal under U.S. and international law. And they began to apply. Yes, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I just want to I just want to read you what the Pentagon and CIA have said. They have rejected the report. Their responses are: the CIA says it contains serious and erroneous conclusions, and that the CIA doesn't have detainees in custody, and President Obama terminated the rendition, detention, and interrogation program in 2009. And let me just read you what the Pentagon says. It says it won't knowingly allow a detainee to starve themselves, and the tube feeding procedure is medically sound. They also say these allegations have been investigated in the past and never been substantiated.
Well, they are referring to what's going on now. Part of our report deals with the extensive period after 2001 until 2005, when everything that was happening was quite secret. Nobody knew what was going on. It is true that the Obama administration issued an executive order which stopped all that. One thing that was not stopped, however, as you know, is the hunger strike that we recently had at Guantanamo Bay, and that's a prime example of protocols written up by the Department of Defense which directed physicians and nurses to treat the hunger strikers in ways that were not consistent with ethical standards, either international standards or United States medical ethical standards. That's still going on.
Yeah, let me just sort of press you on that slightly. You are a doctor. You have signed the Hippocratic Oath. Your duty is to preserve life. Shouldn't you then, in those circumstances, let me finish the question, shouldn't you then, in those circumstances, reluctantly, you have to force feed, and if you're going to force feed somebody, well, then you have to use restraint?
We don't disregard life, and we don't expect hunger strikers to die. And the ethical principles followed by physicians in other settings do not include force feeding. Force feeding is prohibited, absolutely prohibited. And detainees are not necessarily going to die if they're not force-fed. The force feeding is unnecessary, done very early during the course of the hunger strike, rather than having physicians care for each hunger striker carefully so that they don't develop complications. Force feeding is not needed, and it is prohibited by medical ethical principles.
Isn't there, though, a real dilemma between, on the one hand, not letting someone die, and on the other hand, using what you would say are coercive means to ensure that they get nourishment?
Well, they're more than coercive. They are torture. Everyone who's looked at them indicates that they're torture. They involve forcibly extracting detainees from their confinement, forcibly putting them into a specially made chair, restraining arms, legs, torso, head so they can't move anything, and then forcibly inserting a tube through the nose into their stomach. That is cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment, and in the eyes of almost everyone, torture. And it's unnecessary. It is not the proper treatment of hunger strikers.